Hello. Today we're going to talk about Qimage Ultimate and a couple of features that you may or may not know about. The first one we're going to deal with is called sorting the prints. You may want to wonder why you have to sort your prints, or maybe why you shouldn't sort your prints. But we'll have a look at it and see what we can do. Well, the first thing we're going to do is make believe that Aunt Susie called and she said, you know what, I just saw your rose pictures on the web on your page and I really like them and I want you to make me some prints for my garden club. And of course you proudly say, of course. And you ask her what number image she's interested in and she says number 9817 over there, that nice rose. And you say, well, what size prints do you want? And she says, I'd like to have two 5x7s to start. So you click on that, you hold the right mouse button for a moment so you get your property size box up, and she wanted two 5x7s, so you give 5x7 2 clicks. And then she says, you know what, I'd like to have three 3.5 by 5s. Okay, we go to 3.5 by 5 and she wants 3, so we give that 3 clicks. And then she says, oh, you know what, give me one more 5x7. So you go to 5x7 and you give that a click. And that's her order. Okay, now what are we going to do? Well, if you look carefully, we've got 2 pages. Okay, if you want to print them like that, that's fine. But you can right-click and find Sort Prints right down here where it says Batch Processing. And you can click on that, or you can click on this little red sign here that says prints are not sorted, either one. You click on that, Qimage says, are you sure? And you say yes. Okay, there's all the prints that Aunt Susie ordered, and you know what? They're all on one page and not 2. So you've saved yourself a page. You've saved yourself a sheet of paper, and that's economy. Okay, if you didn't want to sort them, if you had a reason to leave them the way they were, then you just don't sort them, that's all. But this can be done and it's a very helpful tool. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Okay, the next thing I want to show you is the slideshow. Now Qimage has a very nice little slideshow, and we all like slideshows. The pictures go by nice and smoothly. We lean back in our chair and we just enjoy watching them. Okay, let's see what else we've got in our slideshow. Well, I'm going to select all my images in this folder, which is done by Control A, standard Windows procedure, and I'm going to click on any plus sign that puts them all in the queue. And now I'm going to right click and go down here to the bottom where it says slideshow. Click on that, and here's our options box. We can have it window size, full size screen, with file name, without file names, with the date, etc., etc. You can do user advanced, where you click on previous and next, or you can use auto advanced, where it'll move to the next slide all by itself with a delay that you put in here. Okay, right now we're going to use user advanced because there's things I want to show you in between slides. Okay, click the OK button, and here we go. Okay, there's our first one, and you can see top left corner, there's the file name, and it's in raw mode, so that I'm looking at a high resolution of my raw image so I can decide if I want to print it or not. Up at the top right, you can see that if you were slowed down or you wanted to rush through, you could switch it to thumbnail resolution and they'll pop right along. Okay, well, I'm looking at it this way in the high resolution, and I'm going to click on previous only because we started at the end of the queue instead of the first one. That's okay. And there's another image, and I'll click on previous again. And oh, look at that. That looks like it's worth printing. I'm going to give it a rating. Now over here in the upper right hand quadrant, you can see where my mouse is. I'm going to give that a rating of 5. Okay, now I'm going to go to the next slide, and well, that's so-so. I'm going to give that a rating of 3. Okay, and now I go to the next slide, and I'm going to give that a rating. That's a pretty one. I'm going to give that one a 5 again. And the next slide, we'll see where we are here. Ooh, that's nice. Okay, we're going to give that a 5. Okay, and the next one. Okay, and that looks a little tired. I think we'll just give that a 1 or a 2. Let's give it a 2. Okay, now you can see what I'm doing. I don't have to do very many more, but you can see that's a pretty scene. I'll give that a 4. Okay, and now I'm going to say done, and we'll have a look at what we've done. If you look at the thumbnails, you'll see there's your rating. That's a 5, a 5, a 3, a 2, another 5 down here, and you can see that this will stay with the thumbnails so that if you come back to it 2 weeks later, you can remember which ones you had planned to print. Okay, now should you change your mind, you can take one, right click, and go to ratings and say no rating or give it a different rating. Okay, you can select all like we did before, right click, go to ratings, and clean them all off. No ratings. You can see they're all gone and nothing was permanent. You did no permanent damage or changes to any of your images. It's just a nice little tool to make it comfortable to select your images. Okay? Okay, next thing we're going to look at is how to find the JPEG that's embedded in most raw images. When I say most raw images, all the ones I've seen have it, but I'm sure I haven't checked every camera and every model. There might be one or two that do not have this feature. But let's have a look. I'm going to take this raw image right here, and I'm going to put it in the queue just by selecting it and clicking the plus sign. I could have pressed the insert key, I could have dragged the image. I'm sure you're well aware of that. Okay, now that this is in the queue, I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to come down here to where it says extract images, embedded images from the raw. Okay, I click on that. Now it's asking me where do you want to put it, and if you leave it blank it'll put it right next to the original. So we say that, and there we are. There's the one that was embedded in the raw image. Okay, let's have a quick look. It looks okay, but let's have a look at them side by side. Okay, now you'll have an idea of the difference. I'm going to put these in the comparator. In order to do that, I need to go to the print queue and make sure I have both file names selected by holding the control key and clicking on both names. Right click, comparator. Okay, there's our comparator, and the difference is that one is a little larger than the other, so a little movement with the mouse wheel makes them both the same size. And I'm sure you can see that this is much better defined. It's got more detail, it's got everything going for it. This one's kind of wishy-washy, a little flat, detail is missing, and that's the way they compare. Okay, let's get out of the comparator and let me show you another thing. I'm going to remove this one, the one that we dragged out from the middle of the raw, and I'm just going to put the raw back. Okay, raw only. Now I'm going to right click and I'm going to say convert image. What we're going to do here is we're going to make a JPEG from the raw. Okay, that's a pretty simple thing, and I'm going to say OK, and it's going to create a JPEG from the raw image, and I want you to see something. Okay, here's the one it just created. I'm going to remove the raw, and I'm going to put in the one we just created, the JPEG we created, and the JPEG that was embedded. Put those two in. Again, go down here to the queue, select them both in the comparator, and you can see they're both JPEGs now. One is not raw, but this is the JPEG made from the raw. This is the JPEG that was shot with the raw. And you can see if you need a JPEG image for one reason or another, try to make it from the raw. You're going to get a much, much finer picture. Okay, that about covers today's lesson. We thank you very much for listening. Hope you enjoyed yourself, and we'll see you next time.